Welcome to the Exit Engine Podcast, Episode 20.
Morning, John.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's when whoever's listening to this podcast is listening to it when it first comes out, it will be after Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's right.
Smack dab in the middle of the holidays, man.
So they will be feasting on leftover turkey.
That's
and
right.
In my case, leftover lamb. So yeah.
Okay. Is that what you guys do? Is you do lamb instead of turkey? Or
No, we do both.
Okay.
I just like turkey. I don't really like gravy that much. And while I do like cranberry sauce, I just find turkey dry.
Yep.
So my wife has a fantastic lamb recipe. And so I just picked it up yesterday, a leg of lamb that is probably this big. I like lamb shoulder too. We're not going to do the lamb podcast.
No, we will do an entire episode on lamb though.
But the leg of lamb roast that we cook on low for 3 hours starts early Thursday morning. So yeah, delicious. Fantastic. I'd highly recommend it over turkey. If you can get turkey right, go ahead, knock yourself out. Yeah. I can't. You're a better person than me.
It's hard.
Yeah. So
it's hard, and it's not that great, and that's not that great anyway. But yeah, you're right. But the lamb thing, do you do that lamb thing at Easter too, or you don't do that?
I do. Yeah, I have lamb as much as I possibly can. I'm actually also going to pick up a little bit of ham too because we've got some more people coming. And we're not going to do like a honey baked ham or anything, but we're going to do some Iberico ham from this place a couple towns away. So
nice. So this is the preparation for the holidays and all this stuff is reminding me of a lot of obviously what happens when you're about to sell your business.
Absolutely right. You have to just like we're talking, like, I've had to go out and prepare, and we got some vino, and we got a couple of beers, and we got food, and I don't know what we're doing for I think people are bringing over sides, but yes, we've had to tell people that Andrew and Tara, you got to bring over some dessert, and Mark and Carrie, you got to bring over wine, and getting everything ready so that at 3:00 or whatever time you happen to be eating on Thursday, we got all the stuff ready so people can eat.
So did you start planning this on Wednesday morning? Before Thanksgiving?
Well, you even imagine first of all, my wife would murder me. I got a text message instructing me yesterday to get some things and to remind me of things because she knew I hadn't done it yet. But we started this planning probably just after Halloween, to be honest with you.
Right. So not the day before you were going to pull it off, right?
Gosh, no.
Yeah. It's funny because I think we talk a lot about the planning of stuff, and the reality is that, nobody in the right mind, right, especially anybody who has a wife, is going to start thinking about their Thanksgiving meal the day before, right? But why is it that so many people think they're going to sell their business tomorrow? They come to us and say, hey, I want to sell my company tomorrow. And can you make that happen? And so many times we have to say, not really.
Well, it's like the time that we did actually have a problem with our turkey. I can't remember the circumstances, but we ended up having to go to the local, whatever it was, ShopRite here on the Wednesday morning before Thanksgiving to get a turkey. Oh my word. It was a total mess. Now we had all the other sides and all those other things, but something fell through the turkey. I don't know if the whatever, but we had to go. It was a mess. Like there were lines, there were cops in the parking lot, like just a total madhouse. And
maybe people actually do wait to the last minute.
Well, I think a lot of people do, but I think a lot of people, because I think people are stressed. I think the holidays brings about people have different situations. They're seeing family members. They're seeing the uncle they don't like, and and politics just happened. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing, but some people just get stressed and they just like to put it off.
Right. Boy, that sounds really familiar. I mean, this is it's funny how we were thinking about the fact that the holidays and what we have to do to go through the holidays and all that stuff, and whether that's Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever, or Ramadan or whatever, holiday you celebrate or whatever. We spend a lot of time kind of thinking about those things. But yet there's still a lot of short-term thinking that goes on. And the same thing is exactly true when you're trying to sell your business, right? When you're planning your exit strategy, we just like when you're planning a giant holiday dinner, you're not going to start planning your exit the day before you want to leave, right?
Or and if you do, it will turn into a mess, right?
You can.
Right.
Okay.
You will, you'll botch the turkey, you'll botch something else because you're trying to do too many things, and you're trying to squeeze 36 hours into 4, and it just doesn't work that way.
There's so much stuff. And when you look at all the areas of your business that you have to examine and the things that, that we preach, in the total exit value system about the 10 areas of your business that need to be examined during this time, those things can't really all be done overnight. Right.
Yeah. And the projects that you're launching or the things you'll uncover, right? We always talk about, we're helping you ask the right questions, right? Ask the right questions of the people on your team, and then they can go, or you can go and find those answers. But oftentimes those answers aren't, there's a drawer where you open it and the answer's there. It's, we have to examine this and make a business decision and then implement it, right? Like, as an example, to switch a supplier. Imagine trying to contact a supplier this afternoon and say, hey, I want to switch I want to get a quote from you in the next 2 days before the holiday about buying something from you. Like, very likely you're not going to get something before on Wednesday afternoon that is actually usable.
Right. But how many times have you on that, on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving morning, whatever, looked in and realized, oh my God, I'm about to make mashed potatoes and I have no butter. Right. So here's a great example of I didn't do my homework. I didn't go through and look at everything. I made an assumption. Okay. Maybe I forgot about it. Either way, I made the wrong assumption. Right. Either way, doesn't matter, because now here you are with doing due diligence, and something major has missing butter has been uncovered in your business. Right. So now you're sitting in a situation where you've waited too long. You didn't do the work. Right. You didn't follow the system. You didn't look at every single aspect of things because you thought it was fine or it would be easy, or I've got such a great business here that this isn't going to be a problem, right? Or whatever you think was going to happen. I've got the buyer's there. We've gotten everything going. Everything's great. And here I am sitting, ready to go, ready to close, ready to make a S ton of money. Okay.
Yep.
And it's going to blow up in my face because I forgot the butter. Right. Or in this case, I forgot the fact that, whatever. I've got, I had a lawsuit. I had something pending. I had
my huge supplier was just acquired. This actually happened.
Right, exactly. Right. A client lost a client yesterday, right, or something like that, right? So now you're in a situation where if you had done the homework and done the things and followed the program, right, you wouldn't be in this situation. If you had, at home, if you had, the Saturday before, like my wife always tells me to do, gone, examined the refrigerator and seen and made sure and the whole thing and written everything down 12 times, you wouldn't have forgotten the butter. We wouldn't be here on Thursday morning without butter and no supermarket to go to or whatever. Luckily, I think they're open on Thursday morning, but still, the bottom line is, right, it's about preparation.
Yes.
Right. And it's about starting the process early. Right. And it's about getting in and understanding the things that you don't know first. Right.
Yeah. Because you're always going to uncover something that you don't know. When you do a thorough examination of your business, I mean, think about it when you walk outside and you look at your gutters. I was doing this a couple of days ago. You walk outside and you don't think anything's wrong with your gutters or there's no blockage. And then before a storm, you go outside and you look and you start examining, like, oh my gosh, there's no water coming from there. There's a huge leaf thing. That'll be a problem during a storm. So you clear those things out. That's just what you're doing in your business. You're trying to find the blockages, the issues, the problems, because when you go in, and if you do want to sell, the person that's buying the business from you doesn't want to buy a problem, certainly doesn't want to buy your problem, has enough problems to deal with in their business and in the future that's uncertain, that they don't want to inherit a problem that you could have fixed.
No question about it. And I think that could kill a deal right there, right? We've seen deals fall apart for far less. So the reality is that, and this is worth mentioning, because the reality is I don't think that people really understand how delicate, right, the situation of selling your business actually is. Like, it's one of the most fragile. A deal to sell your business can be, and often is, one of the most fragile situations that you will encounter. And what I mean is the likelihood, okay, of that deal falling apart at some point, and the whole thing is so high, right? It's actually startling. I mean, we've seen numbers 50, 60% minimum of deals fall through during due diligence. So, I mean, that means made the offer, gotten in there, have an LOI, right, which is called a letter of intent. We've said we're going to do this. We've made this thing, and all we got to do now is, go through the financials with a fine-tooth comb and see the thing and get us all the information you can and let us really examine under the hood of the business and all that stuff. And if you're at that point before you start asking, if you are the person who is being asked questions of, and questions you've never heard before, or worse, questions that you don't know the answers to during this process.
And having been in that exact situation with people about insurance and about those specific things about lawsuits and about, I know that when I was talking to the person on the phone, you hear that when you ask the question that they've never pondered, you hear that silence. That's, are you still there?
Yeah, right. Hello.
And you ask them, and you hear the mouse or the wheel turn in their head, and they say, "Oh, yeah, we did have a slip and fall 6 months ago that's not resolved." Great. Well, we're 7 days before closing.
Right. When are you going to tell us that?
Or we're 7 days before closing. When are you going to resolve it? Because I got to tell you something. There's no way that we are buying your company without that being resolved. So hang up the phone with me and get it resolved.
By the way, just on that example, the people who are suing you find out you're about to sell the company and the whole thing. That's not going to be good for the new owner or for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Another one's a lease. Like, right. Jeez. Everyone thinks, oh, our landlord will be totally cool with with you taking over our lease. Okay, if you say so, but let's get a letter. Let's on page 17. And when I know their lease better than they know their lease, which was another example of this happening, where I went in and said, well, have you notified your landlord that you're selling your company? Be like, no. Like, well, you have to, according to, section 17 of your lease. Like, what? And so, yeah. So it's all about preparation. It's about checking those boxes. As Joe's wife has mentioned to Joe, check the refrigerator on Saturday. Don't forget, so that the butter is in the refrigerator. The leases are checked off in the due diligence process, and everything is buttoned up so that when you do get something that's sort of out of left field, like a storm, right? That also happens. That also happened to us one time.
Or the oven breaking, or the refrigerator. We had the sink go one year. We had the oven go one year. Right.
That happened 2 weeks ago when I was in Chicago. So, but the storm, we had a storm that blanketed the area, specifically where we were buying the company, and it was a mess. It delayed everything. It actually did delay the closing, and that's something. Man, you can plan for a lot, but you can't plan for weather. I get it. You understand that when a Katrina hits or something like that hits, but plan for everything else. Get everything else wrapped up. So if that does happen, that's the thing you can focus on, because dealing with landlords at the last minute, especially around the holidays, is a mess.
And look, I think that you bring up a good point, which is to say, look, it's you can't predict the weather. Okay. You don't know necessarily that the weather is going to come or when it's going to come or how big it's going to be or whatever. But you do have an idea that it could come, right? And so the preparation for this stuff, right, is really what it's all about. It's about trying to understand all the different areas. What are the buyers going to want? What's this particular buyer going to want or care about, right? What are the things that are going to matter to them? And and then on top of that, what are the things that buyers just regularly require right? And that we're going to say that that would be a ridiculous point for me to buy this business with the situation like this, right?
Yeah.
And if I had known that this is the situation before, I wouldn't have even gotten this far with it. And so the ability for people to be able to step back and understand that there are things that you don't know about your business. Some of them are good, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are good. We tell people all the time. It's like, wow, it's amazing what your value could be if you realize that you could pull these couple of levers, right?
Yeah.
So people are always upset when we tell them what their valuation is. Almost always, right? It's almost always like a negative event for them, which is why we show them at the same time what their value can be. Because the reality is that understanding, doing the examinations, learning what it is that you don't know, uncovering the latent and hidden value, being able to, and by the way, uncovering latent problems that could blow up in your face. Do you know that we're seeing right now a record amount of post-deal lawsuits?
Crazy. I mean, I'm not surprised. I didn't know that, but it's interesting.
So the industry now seeing an uptick, and we can find the numbers for you, but an uptick now in post-closing, meaning the deal has been done, the parties have walked away with a thing, and seeing a major uptick in lawsuits coming from buyers, or either way, by the way, buyers or sellers after the deal's done, right? Saying that's either something that wasn't done right, something they weren't aware of, all kinds of things that are going on right now. So, I think that again, that's bad enough to go through a situation and get so close to something and then have it not happen, not materialize, like not having the closing happen. But there's something even worse, right, about the fact that, you could go through all this, have a relatively successful close or whatever, and then be unhappy afterwards to the point at which you think there was maybe some kind of liability or wrongdoing on purpose by the other party.
Yeah, I mean, one recent example of this for me personally is we sold a piece of property, and the person put the property back on the market right away. They closed on a Friday,
right?
Put the property back on the market Monday. So I called my attorney and I was like, what do we have to worry about this? Like, oh no, they just don't want to move there. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And this happens, it happens a lot in business deals, and anecdotally from us, it happened to us.
Yep.
When I was working on a deal a long time ago, is they made a representation that the company we were buying made a representation that was not true. And we knew it was not. Well, we didn't know it was not true. We found out later it was not true. And it was a fundamental way that their technology worked. And they misrepresented it to us. And it was like, wait a second, like, hold on. Like, this is not the way that we start off a business relationship. And this was like a year later. It's like, what? Right.
Yeah. I think what happens is that I think sellers get nervous, right? And I think it's human nature in a lot of ways, right? We're avoidant. When things aren't good or they're hard or they're out of our comfort zone, or our skill set, or however we look at it, it can be difficult to, it's hard to examine the things and ask yourself hard questions, right? But the only reason we're recommending that you do this and that you go through this kind of hard, look at your own business is because that's what the buyer's going to do, right? So
and that's exactly what due diligence is, right, Joe? Like when they're going through due diligence, they're going to ask you questions, and they're going to ask you 7 different ways about your customer list and about your revenue, about your expenses. And now sometimes they'll find something, and by definition, no one's going to increase the price after due diligence. Like that just doesn't happen. But what they can get comfortable with is like the price that they offered to pay. Be like, oh, as an example, one positive thing that happens during due diligence. Let's say that they're going through and they're checking your customer list and they find that someone's 25% of your business. Okay, great, 25% of your business. But imagine the share of wallet that you're getting from that company that they determine is the company could buy another $3 million worth of product from you because they're buying from other suppliers. Now, that's something that they uncover during due diligence. Like it's a positive, right? They say, hey, we only have a small percentage of this company's purchases in this area. We could very easily get a larger share of wallet when they're buying widgets or whatever you're selling.
All true. But here's the problem for the seller. The buyer's not going to tell them.
Yes. Right.
So they're not going to tell you that. They're going to go, oh my God, look at the deal we're getting at the price that we're offering. Okay. And so that's what they want. They want a deal. They want to buy the company for as little money as they can. Okay. They're probably going to have there's probably going to be some kind of weird combination of cash and debt and maybe some kind of rollback to the owner or whatever. There's probably going to be some kind of earn-out situation for the owner in which they have to hit certain milestones over time in order to collect all the money, right?
Yep.
There are all these things, that potentially are there. But the issue is that if you are at a point at which a buyer sees that and you don't know that, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt from the buyer. You're not going to get the guy coming and telling you, hey, by the way, we found out that your company's worth way more than you said it was. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's not great. I guess my point in saying in really that story is, and you just mentioned it, Joe, is you need to know those things, right? Yes. You need to know those things so that when the buyer finds it out and they think you don't know or whatever, how much, that you could potentially get more business. And that's one of those assets that's sort of uncovered. Like, hey, in our top 10 of our customers, 4 of them have the potential to go from 6% to 13%.
Right.
If we capture a larger share of wallet. So like those types of things, you need to know your business in and out. You need to know your customer base in and out, your costs, your expenses, and your profit like nobody else does, so that when you're asked a question, it cold.
And I think, look, the lesson of all this, right, okay, is, and we'll move on to some other things, but I think the point that we're trying to get across is, and again, whether you hire, we do not shamelessly plug ourselves on this thing, whatever. Obviously, we think we have a way of doing it. We think we do it well, but at the same time, no matter who you go with and whatever advice you get or whatever help you get when you're thinking about selling your business, and by the way, you should get some help, okay? Like, it's not us, whatever. Find a broker, find someone you trust, ask around, right? Do some due diligence yourself on who might be able to help you best, right? But the bottom line is this: whoever you get needs to be making you ask yourself some questions, okay? B, let's make sure that the what's happening is that you are examining your business to the point at which there are tricks, models, accounting things, analysis tools, things like that, and the whole thing that I know that we bring to the table, and I'm sure that lots of other brokers and and advisors will too, to show you things that you can't possibly even know, right? So this isn't a criticism of the way you've run your business, right? Let's be very clear. Nobody's coming in here, especially on our side. We're on your team, right? We're not here to criticize you or show you up or make you see that you didn't know stuff about your own business. We're here to get you to understand that you need to know that, and you need to do that due diligence and ask yourself some questions that you wouldn't have normally asked on a regular basis, right? You're not going to ask. You might be aware that one of your customers is 67 or 70% of your business. Okay. You're probably aware of that. Okay. But what you may not be aware of is what their market is, what the market share they're buying is, and how much more money they could actually spend with you, right?
Yeah.
To just carry this example through. So the idea is that, and you would never think, no business owner would think to look at that unless they had some reason to do so, right? So the bottom line here is, guys, let's get our egos out of the way, okay? We're not here. Nobody's here to get on someone or criticize. I'll tell you that the worst thing for your ego would be is sitting there at the table and having some buyer tell you, right, that they're not going to buy your company anymore, or they're going to buy your company at less money because of something they uncovered that you could have known had you actually just looked.
Very true. Yeah.
Okay. So the bottom line here is that, again, like you're planning for the holidays, the health, the financial performance, and the financial health of your company and the whole thing deserve a hard look by you, by your financial partners, by your CFO, by your accountants, by advisors like us, by your broker, whatever. Okay. So that you all have a very, very, very good picture of what's going to happen, and that those questions will come up from the buyer and you'll have answers already.
Yep.
Right. We don't want that stuff coming up and going, well, let me go look for the answer. No. You should be in a situation where everything is documented, written down in the whole thing. And if there's a question, I'll refer you to page 17 of the document that explains this is what this situation is. Right. Yep. Not, I got a good question. I wonder what that, right? Nothing shows a lack of confidence and a lack of not knowing what you're doing than an owner who's sitting there going, no, I don't really know why there's 25% is one customer, right? Have help beforehand, prep beforehand, and know what you're doing and know what you're getting into, so that you can have all these things answered and you can have head everything off at the pass as you possibly can, right?
Yeah. Where are we going next?
So let's talk about the theme, your market position and competitive advantage. Okay. So where are you in the market and all that stuff? The question is like, what's the theme of the, right? Is it a holiday wonderland? What are you doing? Is it grandma's secret cookie recipe? What's the thing that makes your holiday your holiday? Right.
Right. What is the side? What is the unique side or the unique dish? Is it your pecan pie? Is it your stuffing that's cooked in duck fat? Is it
in John's case? It's the fact that you go to John's house for Thanksgiving, and yeah, there'll be some turkey there, but boy, check out this leg of lamb.
There you go.
That's like the Kniff house specialty.
Exactly. So that what you have to identify is, what is the lamb in your business? Is it your marketing prowess? Is it your operational efficiency? Is it your ability to keep your costs low and your suppliers diverse? There's all sorts of things that's going to make that will make your business, that you're highlighting when you're talking to buyers, that is the secret sauce of your business. A patent. There's so many of them. I don't know, Joe, if you have others to add.
Those are great. Those are great ideas. I think the idea is to think about, again, what makes your business unique, right? Yep. What's what has been the thing that you have noticed over the years that from a competitive standpoint you do better, decidedly better than your competition?
Yeah.
Right. And again,
customer service. It can be customer service. Yeah. Yep.
Customer service. It could be the fact that you've got a marketing machine, a marketing engine that you've built or whatever that does a really good job, bringing you warm leads, right? It could be that you have, again, you found operational efficiencies through technology or things like that you're using that make a huge difference in the speed at which you can deliver, your product or service, and that would potentially make your profitability higher. Again, anything that's well organized, anything, and then the other thing is the ability to scale, right? So potentially a competitive advantage for you as a business when you go to sell, compared to other people, would be your preparation and ability for the next owner to scale it quickly. So keep in mind, when we're talking about the market position and competitive advantage and all that stuff, okay, it's not just about how you perform today, right now, in the marketplace in which you do business, but potentially also how you compete in the marketplace that is the sale of your business.
Yes.
Right. So keep in mind that basically, again, we take grandma's got this pumpkin pie. It's going to knock your socks off, right? That's awesome. We want to highlight that. We want to talk about grandma's pumpkin pie and what a great, addition it will be to this thing you're acquiring. If you're acquiring a Thanksgiving meal, you're going to want to have this pumpkin pie as the highlight, right?
Yeah.
But we also want to look for things that aren't necessarily as directly understandable or viewable, it would be in view, things that might be hidden that might actually turn into other competitive advantages if you, again, tease them out, right? And so that's, again, what this preparation is all about.
Yeah, well, I have a quick story, if you don't mind. We had a situation where we were buying a technology company, and the integration was the big challenge in integrating this new technology into one aspect of our business. And I had invested a lot of money, the company's money, I should say, in building out this API, this application programming interface. Anyways, long story short, I don't want to get into technology, but I assured our CEO that we would be able to integrate this new technology via this API very quickly. And thankfully, I was right. But that's an example of sort of a hidden ability to say, oh, the integration will be smooth and quick because we invested internally in this technology that we didn't know what was going to happen in the future, but we did know we'd have to integrate with something. So we shifted money, we shifted budgets, went through the whole process and had that capability so that when the right company came along, we were assured of being able to integrate quickly with them.
Absolutely. And again, those are the things that you can plan, and you can plan ahead if you're taking those steps, right? It occurs to me that as a buyer, that if I came across a seller who was like so uninterested in helping me, it'd be a huge turnoff, right? Like if you start this process as if it's adversarial, and we see this, John, how many times a day do we see this adversarial nature of things?
It's every day, unfortunately.
I know. And so I just don't understand what it is that it's, again, a protective nature. It's I'm going to get ripped off. It's blah, blah, blah. And I think that the reality is that what we've found is that we do a good job, I think, of calming the sellers down as the process goes on, right? Because the idea is that what they see is they start to see comfort. They start to see that everything's kind of like buttoned up. They start to see that things are taken care of. They start to see a process that is going smoothly and feels good, right? And then the best part is being at the end when you're getting all these questions from the buyer and the whole thing, and you've got answers and everything is there and everybody's head nods and everybody's getting along and having a good time. Because in a lot of these cases, guys, you're not just leaving the company.
Yeah, and
you have to work with these people.
Yeah, what I see in our business specifically is there's sort of waves, right? There's like a wave and a trough of sort of people getting their back up. It starts with a negotiation at the beginning over price, and it sort of calms down after they've agreed to a price. People are like, okay, we argued, we negotiated, we agreed to a price, and we're moving forward. And the next kind of wave comes up during due diligence when the buyer is asking questions, the seller is answering those questions, and it can either get repetitive from the seller's standpoint or too inquisitive from the buyer's standpoint, right? Or from the seller's standpoint. It's like, why do they need to know that? Like, how many times have we heard on the phone, have we gotten a text message with, hey, Joe, I got this question from the buyer. Why do they need to know this? And we have to get on the phone and talk to them, be like, look, like, Dan, they're buying this business from you. Like there's that, sometimes the questions are over the top, but sometimes the questions are, they want to know the customer base. They want to know how much you spent over the last 5 years. They want to know how much the raw materials cost and how you're getting it. So, from one perspective, it can be very intrusive from the seller because you're obviously trying to run your business. But from the buyer, it's like, I need to ask these questions because A, my boss is going to ask me about them, and B, it's critical to the value of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And critical to how we move this forward and whether or not this is a good investment for me to make when I've got other investments potentially on the table. And so there you go. Your competition, your market position now changes from how am I positioning my company for sale inside this market as opposed to how I'm doing business selling my widgets, whatever, in the widget market. So the operational efficiency, the scalability, all that stuff is not only good for you selling your business, it's good for and the reason it's good for selling your business is because it's good for the new business owner who takes over for them to be able to scale and move forward, right? So if we don't need to be adversarial in it, we need to come together and look at this as a team, but the onus is on the seller. Make no mistake, okay? The onus is on the seller for coming up with the goods. Okay.
Yep.
It's just the way it works. And if you can and the more that you can do that, and the more prepared you can be, and the more time and effort and energy you spend getting prepared before you even worry about announcing your business for sale, okay, the more you're going to be, the more likely you are going to be to sell your business. Period. The end. It's just the way that it works. Right. Now, if you're that assumes that you're in a business someone wants to buy. Okay, so there are some assumptions we have to make at the beginning. It assumes, generally in general that you're a relatively decent human being who doesn't offend everybody who walks up to talk to them, right? So yeah, we can make a couple of assumptions, but the reality is that most of this is all about being able to understand again, what the view of the buyer and the whole thing, and the onus is on the seller to make sure that they come through. So
Correct.
let's look at this. Your customer and supplier relationships, kind of like the guest list, who have I invited to the table, right?
Yep.
Who are the other people who are going to be in the room, right? Who are my other partners and things like that? Because right at the holidays, it's obviously important. Who am I sitting next to? What are the place cards? You got to worry about, don't sit Uncle Dan next to cousin Bob or whatever, because they don't get along, right? Like that's kind of like what you're dealing with when the buyer comes in, is looking around at your customers and your suppliers and that kind of stuff. These are people that this buyer is going to get to know and work with.
Yeah, exactly. And right. And they're getting to know them now. They're asking them questions. They're seeing how your team interacts, your people interact when they're doing that. All of those things are being observed, and notes are being taken up about them. Certainly they're looking at your finances and your customer list, but they're also looking at the subjective things, like how do Joe and John get along? How do these people interact? What's the culture of the current company? Because that might change, but after the purchase, but unless people are leaving, it tends to stay pretty similar. Unless you're going away and you're getting paid cash, which is, as we mentioned, is rare. There's usually an earn out and you're sticking around for a while. So
and hopefully, again, you're not the main person dealing with the suppliers and the customers, right? As the owner, right? Because that's
a red flag, right? We've talked about this a couple of times. It's like if you are doing everything and you're the chief cook and bottle washer, and all the questions are you're not farming the questions out to people and getting expert advice from people on your team, then the buyer's going to inevitably come to the conclusion, like, man, we're buying Joe out of this company and he does everything. Like, he doesn't sleep. Like, you don't want to answer emails at 3:00 in the morning or at 11 at night, depending on when what your schedule is. Like, it's that can be dangerous.
Yeah, and look, it's as dangerous to your Thanksgiving meal, your Christmas meal, or your Christmas holiday thing, right? Too, right? If you if you are expected or feel that you have to do, as a single person, have to do every single facet of the Thanksgiving meal without help, boy, that's going to be pretty stressful, man. Right? Like,
yeah. Just in our example, we talked about earlier, I'm responsible for the lamb. My wife's responsible for the sides.
Yep.
Our neighbor, our friend is bringing the turkey, right? It should be a collective thing. Like, you could be the one coordinating things, but you shouldn't be the one responsible for everything.
That's right. But just like the party thrives when you've got a bunch of people kind of contributing, to it and whatever, and talk about, like you said, I can't wait for, so someone in our family makes an incredible salad, and it sounds weird, but it's like something that people look forward to every year, right? The notion, and so again, that's like great, Cookie, you're gonna make the salad, right? That's awesome, and whatever, cousin, Sarah's gonna bring the turkey, and gonna bring mashed potatoes, and so is gonna do. So the idea of everybody kind of coming in is, again, we can learn from this, right? Is that as the CEO or the owner of the company, you got to make sure that you're not the one making all the meals, right? You should have people in there at least helping out and at least pitching in, and you're able to delegate these tasks. Now, the reality is that you should not have anything to do with the actual cooking of the meal, technically, right? What we really want you to be as the owner is sitting there in the kitchen, kind of, I don't know, some kind of like old world Italian mother who just sits there. Her arthritis is too bad to do the cooking anymore, right? But she sits there on the stool and she just barks orders to people, right?
Coaching, right? Like,
where's the sauce? Do the thing, get the thing, right? Whatever.
But what Nona's doing, right? What Grandma Nona's doing?
Nona, nice.
She's coaching everybody. Hey. Right. Sharon, you might want to put a little more garlic in the gravy.
Right.
Or John, have you checked the lamb lately? Like, she knows the whole meal needs to come together.
Right.
And you as a CEO, you need to sort of coach those people, just as you do remove impediments, right? As job as a CEO is remove impediments so others can do their job. Right. And remove blockers, whether they're internal or external. That's when we talk to CEOs. That's what when I say that phrase to them, when we talk to CEOs about what they should be doing in their sales information. They're shocked. We're like, really? We should be doing that? Like, yes, that's all you really should be doing. You don't need to be talking to suppliers. You should be meeting with people to sell your company, not to sell your product. And those sort of distinctions are very important when you're truly functioning as a CEO. Make the other people's jobs easier in your company so they can do their job.
No question about it. What about, how do you feel about Christmas and stuff? Do you ever feel like a sad at Christmas?
But why?
No, I just wondered if you ever like the expectation of Christmas and the whole thing can be a very big thing, right?
Yes.
And it's not about necessarily about gifts and stuff as you're an adult, whatever. Obviously, as a kid, it was, right. You're like, oh my God. I mean, my youngest has a list, the length of, giraffe's neck, you know what I mean? In terms of, things he's hoping to get. Right.
Right.
And of course, there's always this kind of like after Christmas letdown. Now, my youngest son is lucky because he's half Jewish. So he gets to have Hanukkah and Christmas. And this year, Hanukkah starts on Christmas Day. Yeah. So basically it's Christmas Day and 7 more days of presents directly after that. So the point is that it's about expectations, right? And I think this expectation thing reminds me of the value gap. So let's follow the analogy through. My 6-year-old, 7-year-old, almost 7, has a long list. He is expecting to get a bunch of things that he really wants for Christmas. And ultimately there is going to be things that, that he just doesn't receive. Right. Even with 7 more days of Hanukkah. But the expectation that comes with that and that letdown that can come around the holiday time and all that stuff of like, sometimes it's also the end of the year.
Yes.
It's like things like that.
Up here in the north. Yeah. The Northeast, the weather's going to be, presumably
it's
be
cold and dark. Yeah, exactly right. And the idea is that what you're doing is that the expectations of the holiday, okay, we're off.
Yes.
Right. And so, and again, sometimes we do it to ourselves. Sometimes, stuff happens to us and all that stuff, or you can have a bad holiday experience, whatever, but the idea is that what I'm thinking about is the way that relates to the value gap, John. Right. Yes. And the fact is that my expectation of what I'm going to get versus what I do get, right, needs to be managed.
Yeah. So right. So that, when you go to sell your business, if you think it's worth $6 million and you go through the process and someone gives you an offer for 2.5 or 3, it's like, well, wait a second. Like you had this expectation that you were going to get this amount of money for your business, and someone's just told you that it's not worth that. And that can be that's a wake up call, right? That's the reality. The holiday is something in the future that's I'm gonna get $6 million. But then you get an offer, and it's like, wait a second, there's a clear gap between what you want and what
you're expecting, right? And what you get. Yeah. And so what do I tell my 7-year-old son after the day after Christmas when he hasn't gotten every single thing he's wanted, right? You got to tell him ahead of time, look, just know, Santa Claus, no Santa Claus, whatever, chances are you're not going to get every single thing on this list, right? Like, know this now. So don't be as surprised if, again, it would be too much to expect to get everything on this list. If somehow you do get everything on this list, gosh, won't we all jump for joy and be so wonderfully surprised and so grateful, right? I'm
almost over not getting a bike when I was 11.
Right, exactly. It stings. It still sits there. I still remember sitting there and not getting the thing. I've got a video of my sister. I got a video camera one year, so it must have been older, probably in college. And I turned this video camera on and I'm taping my sister. And my sister is sad because she hasn't gotten some really big gift that she really wanted to get. Right. And so I've taped this and this whole thing or whatever. And so I happen to know that she's actually hasn't gotten that gift yet, but that she was going to get it. So I recorded her saying this, right?
That's great.
I took it to my parents or whatever. And my parents were like, oh my God, of course their heart was breaking because it's like, oh, the whole thing. And they immediately come and they bring out this gift and the whole thing. And it turns out to be like the happiest Christmas she's ever had. Right. But the funny thing about this is that, again, with that, the expectation of I'm going to get this, I'm going to get, or I hope, right? Which we know is not a strategy, right? I hope I'm going to get this, right? You can actually kind of affect that, right? My sister didn't really have any control over it, right? She lucked out.
Right.
But the point is that you, as the owner of the business, have more control than you really know, right? About managing your own expectations, doing things. Can you wait longer? If you don't like the value of the company, where things are netting out, can you wait longer and do a couple of projects and actually raise the value of the company significantly, right? That's an option, right? Can you get some capital instead of selling the business right now? Right.
Yep.
And to be able to do something big to make that, to really raise the value of it and get to a place that you might actually be able to do in a relatively short period of time. So managing your expectations aren't just about, well, you know, I hope this goes well. And I know I won't be sad when it's over. You will be. You're going to be sad when it's over. There's going to be a letdown, whether it went well or not. Right. We just talked about how many people are so upset when it's over that they go out and sue everybody. Right. I mean, so the idea is that being able to manage your expectations is a huge part of the process. And I think you'd say, John, that this is something we manage kind of constantly through the engagement, right?
Yeah. Right. We have to manage. We have to realize that when you've negotiated on a price, you've gone through due diligence, it's very likely that the buyers are going to try and lower that price after whatever they find during due diligence. So you need to make sure that you keep your eyes on the prize and say, hey, I'm going to sell my company. I'm going to do this afterwards. I'm comfortable with what I've set up. And if the buyer comes back and they lower the price lower than what you're willing to accept, you don't want to split the difference, right? We always tell our clients not to split the difference. If you really feel, and we don't want to blow up deals also, but if you're going to be unhappy before you even gotten the money, and you know that from the jump and from when you've been told this, after you've been negotiating and doing these things, don't do the deal.
Just don't.
Don't do the deal, because if you're going to be unhappy, just don't do it, because it's going to gnaw your craw, for lack of a better term, and you're going to be pissed off, and you're going to be bitter at everybody, and you're going to get angry that you didn't get your whatever it was. So reassess. If you can accept the lower price, accept the lower price. If not, don't do the deal. No one's got a gun to your head. Thank the good Lord in this country. It's a free country, and you can sell your business to who you want. And if they lower the price lower than what you want, willing to accept, don't accept it.
Right. But know your options. You know what I mean? And know that when you're going into this and the whole thing, that you probably do have some options, and we'll show, in our methodology, we'll show you what you can do to raise the value of it and in what time frame. So you have a choice.
Bulletproof. Yeah, you can make what we're doing in the TEV system, and we're doing during our consulting work, is we are making your business bulletproof. We're making your business so that when someone comes back to you and says, what about X or what about Y? And you say, well, yeah, those are issues, but either A, I can't control them, and it's the weather, like we talked about earlier, or B, it's here's how I'm mitigating this risk. I'm doing it with insurance, with extra suppliers, and with a stronger and more resilient supply chain and customer base. There you go. That solves the issue. And
exactly right. And it doesn't have to ever be a problem, right? Because you've actually done the work and you know what the answers are. I love this one's my favorite one, though.
Please.
Because I don't know how you feel about leftovers.
Oh, huge fan.
Huge fan, right? Like huge, like especially at the holidays, and oh my god,
it's almost better. The meal on Friday,
yes,
is almost better than the meal on Thursday.
No question about it. When you don't care anymore and just like piling stuff on top of it and heating up. I mean, look, it's the best. These holiday leftovers, John. This is my favorite one. You know this. Marketable inefficiencies, right?
Yeah, because on Thursday, you're thinking, oh, we're going to have all this food. And yeah, you eat your meal and it's great. Hopefully everyone's Thanksgiving is wonderful. But that Friday afterwards, you see what's left in the fridge. What did people take home? We have people taking those stuff from home. What sandwich can I cobble together?
Right.
While there's wonderful football on,
mm-hmm.
On that Friday afternoon. And what sandwich can I put together that's leftovers and that's going to be delicious with a little heat, and a little, gravy or chutney. I'm already hungry. Sorry.
Look at that. I know. And so the holiday leftovers, right, are like, it's not just delicious, they're an opportunity. And marketable inefficiencies are that kind of opportunity, right?
Yes.
When you can identify those untapped areas of your business that untapped areas of value that a buyer are going to be able to take advantage of so that they can make money, and you point those things out, identify them beforehand, show them, make them part of your marketing, in terms of actually selling the business.
Yeah. And
this is huge to be able to do. Because,
So during exit planning, you will inevitably come up with more projects than you can do in the time that you probably want to sell the business. In other words, when you go through this process, when you go through that specifically with us, I'll speak with our consulting clients, they go through and they identify 4, 6, 7 projects. Now, you can't have too many projects going at once because you can't focus on all those things. But inevitably, you'll have a project that you identify that you won't be able to do. And one of the reasons you won't be able to do it, let's say you can't borrow $1 million or you can't borrow $2 million. But if you could, you would do X, and you've written this down, or someone on your team's written it down saying, hey, if we had more money or we had more time, we'd be able to do this. Now, that's something that when you provide to a buyer, they can look at one of two ways, right? One, they can look at it saying, oh, they didn't get this done. Smart buyers are going to look at that saying, yeah, they didn't get this done, but man, look, they laid a roadmap for us in the future. Like private equity firms, bigger buyers, entities that are bigger than you often have different access to capital than you do. They just don't have the access to it.
Right.
And capital is one of those things that comes up all the time. Oh, we have a network of stores that we could pump your product in and sell it. Great. That's a marketable inefficiency that the buyer should look at as an opportunity. And you have to make sure you can point that out to them by saying, hey, here's a document I created. This is what I would do if I had unlimited money.
Right. Here's our plan. We would get to this, and I'm handing it over to you as part of the value of the business. I mean, that's the kind of thing that, again, and it's a delicious, tasty treat, right? That the buyers get to have after the deal is over. So the last one we have here is so business continuity. Have you ever been in a situation during Thanksgiving when or any kind of holiday when the power goes out?
Yes.
Right. Like one of the worst things that could happen, right? Like you have all these people over or whatever, power's out, right? So a good idea, especially in the Northeast when we have storms and things like that, to have some kind of like backup generator or whatever, right? Your business continuity plan, that's your backup generator, right?
Yes.
If your power goes out during your holiday dinner, you're going to save the day by being able to bring power back and the whole thing. Your continuity planning is exactly the same thing. It's helping your business run smoothly, during these kind of disruptions or during these transitions, right? So that basically that nothing drops off from your business as you move. And that could happen as you move from, hands-on manager to, more hands-off kind of, owner, CEO, or it could be that you are turning into a situation where you are, we're transitioning from the sale, right? Because there's going to be a big, as you were discussing before, a big deal in terms of transitioning from A to B.
Yes.
And being able to actually do that well is about continuity. It's about keeping the power on, keeping the lights on as you go through these transitions.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, it feels like the holidays and selling your business have a lot in common, actually.
Yeah. I mean, right. We've gone through a number of things that they have in common. It's setting expectations. It's planning.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite ones when I was dealing, with my kids is you get what you get and you don't get upset. Right. you get what you get and you don't get upset because, you need to plan. You need to think about what a buyer is going to want. And you need to prepare your business for a sale, and you're not going to be there, right? That after the holidays are over, the buyer's going to be, you're going to be gone. You're taking off, or you're there. And
it's like a lot of people, man, holidays are over and boom, and they're off. They are off to Florida or off to the thing or whatever, or they off to the Caribbean, and that's it. And I'm there for, a while, then I come back. I think that's what Santa does, actually. I think he goes to, right. Doesn't he take some time off right there?
Right. Yeah,
exactly. Look, I think bottom line here is that, first of all, we want to, like I said, this will air after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. We'll have a couple of more episodes in here before Christmas happens. But the holidays are and this time of year is a time for reflection. It's a time for looking at what I've done. And then it's also a time for looking towards the future in terms of what's next. And as we approach the end of the year, anybody out there who, as you think about selling your business and your ability to be able to have, do the work to make sure it's ready to go. And as John said, to make it bulletproof, and that's, again, getting some help, whether it's from us or anybody else, in terms of that preparation is going to be key. And it's going to make, just like it makes your Thanksgiving meal, splendid, preparing yourself for the sale of your business adequately is going to make the sale just as splendid.
Yeah. And if this is the trigger, or if this is the event, the podcast that you want to, you've identified that you want to sell your business, reach out to me, reach out to John at myexitengine.com or Joe at myexitengine.com for a conversation. We're not going to, there's no obligation. We understand that the holidays makes you shift your mindset, makes you realize what's important. Oftentimes you're with your family, you're sometimes working, sometimes not working. And it can be a time of reflection, as Joe mentioned. And if you are pondering selling your business, if you want to prepare your business for sale, get in touch with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on all our social channels. Get in touch to find out more.
I couldn't have said it better myself. This has been the Exit Engine podcast. I'm Joe. That was John. We guys will hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and obviously we will talk to you next week before Thanksgiving. But John, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your wonderful lamb and your ham and your lamb and your turkey.
Enjoy the family, enjoy the time to reflect, and the football too.
Absolutely. Can't wait. The best part. All right. Awesome. This has been the Exit Engine podcast. Again, this is Joe Stapleton. That's John Caniff. We are the co-founders of Exit Engine. You can find us at myexitengine.com. Send us an email, info@myexitengine.com. We answer everything. You got a question you want answered, you don't know, give us a shout. We answer everything. Come to us. We will give you the answers that you need. We are very good like that. Consider it our Christmas gift to you. This year is to be able to help you in any way we can, make sure you are ready to sell that business and control your exit destiny. All right. John, thanks a lot, man. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Joe. See ya.